One. Welcome back to the practice squad. I'm one of the co-hosts, Jordan LaRoche. You actually see in the shot here our guest for today, Jonah Goodman. But as always, I'll be bringing up my co-host, Henry Standage, in just a few seconds here. We want to thank the Bottom Line and the Locker Room for allowing us to use the space. A brand new podcast studio in the heart of downtown Toronto. So right next door to the Hockey Hall of Fame, down the road from the Union Station. It's a great spot here. And the Bottom Line, it's actually packed today, which is always good to see. But we'll get right into it. I'm going to bring up these guys. We had a bit of a technical error there, but we're good. Henry Standage, how are you doing?
What's up, Jordan? I should be doing better than I am because, as I was telling you before, Mekhi Becton, the Jets, should be stud left tackle, is going to miss the entire season for the second year in a row. People who listened to last week's episode would know I'm pretty high on my team, the Jets, which isn't always the case, but losing, he was going to play right tackle this season, but you take a guy 11th overall in what was a packed left tackle draft, and it's worked out for the Browns with the guy they took, and it's worked out with the Bucks who went after us and took Tristan Wirfs, who's been an all-pro already. So, sad day for Jets fans, but excited to be here and talk about some other teams today, including Jonah's.
Yeah, we got Jonah Goodman, who's a big Denver Broncos fan. We got a lot of exciting things happening in Denver land right now. How do you feel about the team coming into this season?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, guys. Always a pleasure to be on this podcast. And to start off by saying I am very excited for this season. I mean, Denver's done a lot of good things over the past couple of years. Obviously, we won the Super Bowl pretty recently, but I could not be more excited than what we have in the locker room right now. And I can't wait for football season to start.
I mean, it's coming right up. I mean, we're just a few days away from preseason here, but as we kind of get closer to the season, we wanted to, just talk a little Broncos with you. But Henry, do you want to lead this off here?
I got the shirt. So we had Jonah bring a shirt today so that we could ask him questions about his team with his hand on the Denver Broncos logo in the first edition of what we're calling Hand to God, which means whatever we ask Jonah about the Broncos, he has to answer with the utmost truth. You got it. Yeah, Jordan, you want to ask your first question?
All right. So obviously, you never want to have to deal with this, but they do have some pretty big injuries coming into this season. I mean, you got Tim Patrick, ACL out for the season, Randy Gregory, physically able to perform, Billy Turner as well, KJ Hamler. With all that kind of thrown in, does that change anything in your mind about the Broncos heading into this season?
Well, I mean, fortunately, Randy Gregory should be ready to go week one.
Yeah.
So, he still needs to get into practice shape, into game shape, so give him a couple weeks, but he'll still be an impact player at the beginning of the season for us. KJ Hamler also still doing individual drills. He should be good for us. And we do have a lot of receiver depth. I know that Tim Patrick was a really big loss. I liked him a lot. Very sure-handed player. Very few drops, if any, I might say. And you know what? KJ Hamler could step in and be his replacement when he's ready to go. And I think he'll be ready to go near the beginning of this season as well. So you're right, some big injuries, but I do think we're ready to roll. And Russell Wilson is a mobile quarterback, so I'm okay with our O-line is actually pretty good. And that is a big loss with Billy Turner, but I think that we'll be able to manage, especially with Russell Wilson's running capabilities that Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater did not have.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Russ because he's had an interesting last couple of years. So at the start of the 2020 season, remember the whole let Russ cook phenomenon that was going on? And he came out absolutely lights out that season. Seahawks were winning games. He was probably the MVP favorite 5, 6, 7 games into the season. And then he really fell off the second half of that year. And some people say, he had some lingering injuries. The Seahawks offensive line wasn't good, which may have contributed to that. And then last year, he also wasn't very good. So we've had a season and a half of not great football from Russell Wilson, not the type of football we'd expect from him. So, in all honesty, how worried are you that he's a little further into the back end of that prime than maybe the trade package suggests? 2 firsts, 2 seconds, Noah Fant, a former first-round pick in Drew Lock, and a couple of supplementary picks later rounds.
No, great question. And I'm just going to bring you right back to when we signed Peyton Manning at the end of his career, and you know what he did, right? So I'm not comparing Russ and Peyton Manning right now, but I am saying that it's a very similar situation. We are bringing a quarterback in near the tail end of his career, but he's still got some football left in him. He's been cooking in training camp. People have been very impressed with what he's put together. And you know what? He does have a much better supporting cast in Denver. Seattle was kind of fumbling around with their offensive line. They didn't have as many weapons. Sure, there was DK, Tyler Lockett, but outside of that, they didn't have a tight end. Their blocking schemes were nowhere near as strong as Denver, so I do feel more confident that Russell Wilson will have better protection, and he will be able to keep those stretches of playing at a more impactful level for the duration of this season.
But when I think about Russ, you kind of have to think about just the kind of social awkwardness he has a little bit. You see the promotion he did at the start of the season, Bronco Nation, let's ride. It might be one of the worst things I've seen.
I like the enthusiasm. He's in a new spot, first time in his career. He's been a Seahawk for his life so far, so I like the enthusiasm. And you know what? Denver seems to be rallying behind him, so I'm okay with it. A little cheesy, but I love it.
So you feel confident that he's not the worst QB in your division?
You know what? That's a loaded question. And you know what? Patrick Mahomes is the best QB right now. Justin Herbert's second or third, whatever. It's debatable. Derek Carr could. I really think that's a toss-up. I like Russell Wilson more than Derek Carr, in my opinion, but I think that's subjective, and I think that could be debated for quite a while. Listen, I think Denver finishes second in their division this year. That's my take.
Which means they'd be a wild card team.
Yep.
In that division.
Yep. In that division. I think 3 teams make the playoffs out of that division.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to believe that. I mean, if you look at just the depth of that division now, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, the Raiders, quote unquote, probably the weakest roster in that division, but even then, that's a pretty darn good football team they have down there.
Yeah. Very much so.
But I kind of want to move a bit to the other position in the backfield right now, the running back situation. I mean, you got Melvin Gordon. You have Javonte Adams, Javonte Williams, sorry, that's my bad. Who I think everyone wants to really kind of step into that number one role, but they just extended Melvin Gordon recently. Yep. He still has that pedigree, but if you're in that situation right now, who's your number one? Who gets more touches? And a side question from that, who do you think will be the better running back this season?
Well, great question. So I think when they brought in Nathaniel Hackett as head coach this year from the Packers, you kind of saw a little bit of what he was doing with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. And I think that's going to be a similar approach. I think they're going to have a bit of a two-headed monster there with Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams also had, I believe it was second or the most missed tackles last year per touch, right? Yep. Per touch. And then he also had, his stats were pretty remarkable.
He also just looks really good when
he does. So to answer your question, I think he will be the number one, except how much of a number one he'll be compared to Melvin Gordon's number two, that's up for debate. I think best case scenario, we have 2 number one running backs. We're trading off, and I see that as a winning system. I think Hackett as the head coach believes in that system, and I think it'll give us a lot of options, especially since they can both catch the ball out of the backfield as well.
We're all in the same fantasy football league, so I don't want to tip you guys off too much, but I think it's very interesting that Javonte Williams goes in the 3rd round of drafts and Melvin Gordon goes in the 10th when they just had the exact same workload last year and basically the same output. Well,
I mean, you look at it, I have the numbers here. Melvin Gordon, 203 attempts, 915 yards, 8 touchdowns, 57.4 yards per game, 4.5 per attempt. And you go to Javonte Williams, 203 attempts, same number of attempts, 8 fewer yards, 4 less touchdowns, but again, almost the same yards per game, and 0.1 fewer yards per attempt. I mean, these are guys who, if you're in a fantasy league, I think are interchangeable almost.
I think it's also because Melvin Gordon had some injuries near the later part of last season, and Javonte Williams had some big games near the end of the season, and people in fantasy football tend to have that shorter memory. They remember what happened at the end of the season, and they like to go with the younger guy. They think he might get injured less, right?
Fantasy players like potential.
Yeah, that's just it. But I do think they'll be splitting.
All right.
Henry, you want to hit him with another one?
Oh man, I just wanted to hit him really hard with the Russ thing. Really put some paranoia in his mind. I will say that you bring up the tight end thing is interesting because obviously you guys traded away your, sort of like franchise tight end. You took him very high in the draft for that position, and he looked like he was getting better every season with pretty mediocre quarterback play. Now you have this guy Albert O. I can't say his last name.
Big Al.
Just Big
Al.
Big Al has like a crazy metrics in terms of athleticism and size. And do you think he's the tight end that Russ starts to utilize? Because in Seattle, he had guys like Jimmy Graham.
Yep.
He had the past couple years, he had a bunch of different guys, Gerald Everett and other guys like that. But he's never been a huge tight end guy. Do you think that changes in Denver?
I don't know if that changed in Denver, but I will say, and you know what, I'll say this with a grain of salt because we are in the same fantasy league, but I'm very high on Big Al right now. All right, so it's probably already said too much, but I'm a big fan of the Broncos receivers. Look what he's done with DK. Look what he's done with Tyler Lockett. I'm pretty sure Judy and Sutton are ready to step into that role now with a bona fide QB that can sling it. And I think Big Al might have a breakout year. I think he will have a breakout year for him, and I think that could lead to some big numbers.
But you mentioned Jerry Jeudy there, who I'm actually really excited about coming into this year. I mean, granted, he missed 7 games last year with injuries and with COVID later on in the year. He put up some decent numbers considering he had Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater in his backfield. And with Tim Patrick, as we said earlier, is going to be out for a decent amount of time here. What are your expectations for Jerry Jeudy coming into this year? Do you think it's a breakout year, or do you think it's more status quo?
No, I wouldn't say it's status quo. I wouldn't go as far to say right away he's going to jump into a breakout year. However, this guy's a great route runner. And you have to remember, Cortland Sutton was injured all last year, right? So defenses, when he was playing, only had to worry about him and Patrick. So I think with Sutton, who's a number one guy, he'll command a lot of attention. I think it'll leave a lot more room for Jeudy to operate. And especially when Hamler's back in the fold, I could definitely see Denver's receivers having a huge impact, and I think Jerry Jeudy's going to be the number one. I really think by the end of this year, Jerry Jeudy will be the number one receiver in Denver. I love Sutton. I think he's going to have a great year, but I really think Jeudy's going to be putting up bigger numbers by the end of the year.
But it kind of flew under the radar the last few years, but that wide receiver core has a lot of depth, and you have some pretty top end talent up there too.
They have potential, right? And it hasn't been realized yet because of their quarterback play and as well as their age, right? So you got to give these times to grow. They're young. They've had some injuries. It's been a couple bad bounces, and we're hoping they can really get out of this rut with Wilson and step it up and take that team into the next direction, next step. Yeah.
I think. You have any more, Henry?
No.
But we want to do one last little thing here. We wanted to go through the schedule actually. I don't know. We won't quite go game for game because they do have a middle stretch there, which is a little inconsistent. But I mean, if you look at their schedule, first 5 weeks you're in Seattle, home against Houston, home against San Francisco, on the road in Vegas, and at home versus Indianapolis. So you should go through those 5 games. What's their record?
I want to say that opening game in Seattle is not a freebie.
No,
that
God no.
Ridiculous.
That's
going to be like classic 12th man stuff.
Yep. Yeah, I think that'll be. Is that prime time?
I'll have to double check. I'm not 100%.
I don't know if that's prime time, but I think it should be if it isn't.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Oh, you think it should be? Wow.
Absolutely. That's going to be one hell of a game.
I really want to watch Geno Smith on my Sunday night. That's fine.
Oh no, I don't think Denver loses that game, even with the 12th man. I'm all for it. I think Denver starts off this season 3-0, and then I think it's always going to be a battle against Vegas, and Indy's a tough team. I do think that it's a toss up there as well. So I like our first games, and I'm pretty confident to say that we'll start off this year 3-0.
I think what Jordan's kind of implying, and I know he's about to get to this, is that you're going to probably need to go 4-1 in this stretch.
Probably. I agree.
Because I'll let Jordan talk about it, but the end of the season's crazy.
So, I mean, week 7, you also have the Jets, week 8, the Panthers, and week 11, the Jaguars, and then the Panthers, week 11. But after week 11, it's it's a pretty tall hill they'll have to climb. I mean, you're in Baltimore, you're home against Kansas City, Arizona, in LA, and then Kansas again before wrapping it up against the Chargers at home. But as Henry said, I couldn't have said it better myself. You have to go. You have to have a really good start to that season, because if you look at that stretch, it's a 6-7 game stretch. I say 3 and 4, 4 and 3. It's gonna be very tough.
Make a good point, but I mean, we're in a division where you have 6 games that are going to be playoff-like games, right? And starting, as you said, in week 4 against Vegas, like, you're going to play them again later on. You're going to play the Chargers twice. You're going to play the Chiefs twice. Like, all those games are going to be playoff-like games, and it's going to be so entertaining to watch. And I think every game's going to be a toss-up, and I don't see Denver going down and losing. Like, I think they're splitting. I think Denver can take some. Like, some teams will steal some. It's going to be a toss-up, and I can't be here and just say that Kansas City's going to beat us twice in a row. Yeah. I don't know. I think we can pull one out.
Rust does fade late in the year.
We're going to find out what it's like on Denver, right? Who knows? That oxygen, the lack of oxygen, might help him out with his throws. A little more power.
Have you guys ever actually worked out or played sport in high altitude? It's a little different. I expect it to be a huge change, but I was in Banff for a couple hockey practices, and oh my god, I was puking. I was short of breath. I was in good shape at one point, but it does take a huge toll on your body. So I mean, that's something you do have to watch out for.
It's like the Denver Nuggets always have these pretty mediocre teams, but they go 30 and 11 at home every year.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Why do you think Brandon McManus hits so many long-range field goals, right? It's great. The air up there just does wonders for teams in Denver.
All right, is that a wrap on Broncos? Hand of God?
Anything else you want to say about the Broncos?
No, I'm excited for this year, and as always, let's ride.
Next thing we wanted to talk to you about was we're about to hit the middle of August. It's time to talk awards. This is when you can probably find value still if you have some intuition about some players for certain awards. So we've all gathered a favorite pick as well as a dark horse or a value pick that we like for this upcoming season. And we'll go through it all: MVP, Coach of the Year, Offensive Rookie, Defensive Rookie, Defensive Player of the Year. But let's start with MVP. And this is an award where a quarterback's going to win. We know that. You're going to see Josh Allen, Mahomes, Brady, Rodgers, of course, near the top of that list. So I think Allen's the favorite right now. Makes a lot of sense. The Bills are everyone's pick to kind of be the team that goes 14-3, 13-4 this season. But for me, when I looked at it, I bet on this guy last year at 21-1 because I was just blown away by him as a rookie. And that's Justin Herbert, who has thrown for more passing yards than anyone else has in NFL history through 2 seasons. He's at 10-1. Last week with Jordan, I predicted the Chargers to win that AFC West division. And I think if he does that, that's something voters will take very seriously. And yeah, I think he's kind of the engine that's going to make that offense go, obviously. So Justin Herbert at 10-1 is my favorite pick.
We'll do dark horse now as well.
Okay. And I didn't have a dark horse I loved, to be honest. I was seeing guys like Saquon at 150-1 going, well, if he put it together, maybe we see that Adrian Peterson type revenge season when he came back from the ACL. But as I told you in pre-show meetings, seeing Trubisky at 61-1 really annoyed me. So I started looking at guys with similar value around that range who I thought, well, they have a way better chance of putting together an MVP season than Mitch Trubisky. And so the 2 quarterbacks that came to mind were Matt Ryan, who's won it before. He's heading to a team that is favored to win their division.
Yeah.
This Colts team could easily win 11 games. It's not a super tough division. The tight ends are going to regress, I think we all agree. And, if the Colts win 12, 13 games somehow, Matt Ryan will be in the discussion. And so at 61-1, same odds as Trubisky. That stuck out to me. And
Sorry?
yeah.
Like, I mean, that's not the craziest thing I've heard. I mean, I think Matt Ryan. I think the Colts are a better team with Matt Ryan over Carson Wentz, and Michael Pittman's coming back this year. You still have Jonathan Taylor there. I think you have a lot of good pieces that could contribute to, some twisted world out there where Matt Ryan's MVP in 2022.
Don't forget, he's one of the best offensive lines.
Yeah.
Right?
That is true. That is true.
Like, think about the amount of time Matt Ryan's going to have to throw compared to when he was with the Falcons.
Yeah. No, I just think that's honestly pretty good value. Do I think he'll win it? Probably not. But the other one, this is awesome. I picked like the two most vanilla quarterbacks ever. But the other one is Kirk Cousins at 51-1 because I also picked the Vikings to win that division last week. I think they're going to have a really good year. I think Justin Jefferson, somebody who's going to come up later in this conversation for me. Yep. They got a guy from the Rams offensive scheme to come be the head coach, and Kevin O'Connell, and they're going to air the ball out. Adam Thielen, Irv Smith, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook. Kirk could totally have a massive year. Now, nobody would ever want to actually vote for him, and I think all our heads would explode if he did lead the league in touchdowns.
Let Kirk cook.
But again, Trubisky at 61-1. Give me Kirk at 51-1 anytime. And I think the best advice I could give for the MVP is just go with a young guy. You can't get Trey Lance at good odds at 41-1. That seems probably about not great value. But look at Trevor Lawrence. Don't look at Justin Fields because that team's going to sting. If you think the Jets are going to be way improved, you can look at Zach Wilson, 151-1, but that's where the extreme value goes. Is the second, third-year QBs.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree. No, it's a good point. I like the points you brought up about the Vikings as well. I also have that coming up later.
Okay.
You want to go next, Jonah?
Yeah, sure. So I didn't write the odds all down, but as you said before, I got Josh Allen going for MVP. I think it's everybody's favorite.
7.5 to 1, I think.
Yeah, it's not great odds,
660.
but I think that's what's happening this year, right? So that's my guess. Again, it's a tough toss-up between him and Herbert in my mind, but I do think that this is the year Josh Allen takes it. Rodgers has had it for 2 years straight. I think it's ready for Josh Allen to step up. Is he on the cover of Madden yet? I don't think so, but I think it's bound to happen. So,
Who is on the cover of Madden this year?
I don't think they've been. I don't know. It comes out next week. I mean, they probably already announced it.
Okay.
we should know that.
Maybe it's Matt Ryan.
Maybe it's Matt Ryan. Yeah, good point. My dark horse, obviously coming on this podcast, I knew Henry wanted me to say Zach Wilson, but with Mekhi Becton's injury, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So I'm going to have to go with Derek Carr. I think that connection between him and Devontae Adams can be huge, and I think that could be a huge next step in his career. Listen, personally, I think the Raiders are the last team in that division, so I don't know how they'll end up. That's why it's a dark horse pick.
How could Derek Carr be more valuable this year than last year? We're supporting cast.
Yeah.
Henry
It's
Ruggs
tough.
and Gruden stuff is happening.
Devontae Adams is going to be a huge pickup for him. I think there's some mojo there that can come back, and Derek Carr can swing it with Devontae Adams, and he could be a dark horse if for some reason somehow
If they won that division.
the Raiders go off and win that division. Listen, I don't think it's going to happen. That's why it's my dark horse. But if I were to be surprised, that one would be it.
I think that's 29-1.
Yeah.
That's what I saw this morning.
Yeah, it's around there. But I guess I'll go here. For my favorite, I got Joe Burrow at plus 1,200. I think he comes back in his second full year in the NFL and just builds on what he did last year. I think just the maturity we saw from a guy who, in his second year in the league, was able to essentially just drag his team into a Super Bowl spot. I mean, it's pretty rare. I think he comes back this year and just lights the league on fire again.
They put a ton of investment in their offensive line as well. All the other main guys are young and on cheap contracts, so they weren't subtracting anything this offseason, which is rare for a team that makes the Super Bowl, right? Because guys want to get paid. All these guys are on rookie deals. They didn't lose the starting tight end, who my team signed, C.J. Uzomah. But C.J. Uzomah is already taking second-string reps for the Jets behind Tyler Conklin, so I don't think we can expect Joe Burrow to suddenly, look like a quarterback in Northern Iowa because he lost C.J. Uzomah.
Yeah, I think he'll have a big year with Joe Mixon in there as well. I think Joe Mixon fully healthy will definitely lead to good things for them. But for my dark horse, you took the words out of my mouth. Derek Carr. I'll talk about it a little more later on in the episode. But I mean, I think Devontae Adams just opens up the door for him to really kind of expand that offense, and maybe it opens up a lane for Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller to also have good years.
You guys really like Derek Carr?
Yeah.
Coming from a Broncos fan, that one hurt.
He's definitely been top 5, had to date your sister quarterbacks. Just seems like a good guy.
Yeah, I probably throw him up there. The eyeliner looks a little weird, but
yeah, he does. He has a weird eyeliner. Okay, should we do coach now?
Yeah, we'll do coach of the year.
Okay, I'll run through this one a little quicker.
Yeah.
I already brought up Kirk.
I don't think we need to do a dark horse for this one. I think we just do a favorite.
Okay.
Sure.
All right, so I brought up the Vikings earlier. I basically already went through my whole case, coming from a very modern scheme with the Rams. If Kirk goes off and they win that division, he's going to be right in the mix for the award. And I also want to throw Doug Peterson out there, plus 1,800. He is in the best situation to win the award because the Jags had probably the worst head coaching situation we've seen in the last couple of years. He gets to come in, be the grown-up in the room. They're going to be better. Year 2, Trevor Lawrence. They're not in a great division. If they come second in that division, they're in the wild card hunt. I believe Doug Peterson won the Super Bowl in his first year with the Eagles, so clearly he's shown he can come in and have success. At plus 1,800, that would be my bet.
Yeah. No, that's a good one.
You roll in there?
Yeah, I'm going with the favorite. One of the favorites here. I'm going with the Chargers coach, Brandon Staley. I just think the Chargers have put together an all-star offense, and I think that I think they're going to win that division. And I think that, that being the best division in football, that it's going to prove that they've taken the team to the next level, and that he'll win that award because of it.
I think that's plus 1,400. He's the favorite right now.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah. I was leaning towards what you were saying there, Henry, about Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings at plus 1,700. But like we were talking about earlier, Kirk Cousins to be airing the ball out this year. We haven't really seen him be able to really take control of that offense. So I think we said it last week as well. This either goes really well for the Vikings or it goes really badly. I think if it goes well, yeah, he has to consider O'Connell for coach of the year. But it could just as easily fall back the other way if the whole Kirk Cousins experiment doesn't work out.
I just want to say something quickly about Brandon Staley. He took a lot of flack last year because he kept going for it on 4th downs.
Yeah.
At times people deemed unnecessary. Now, if the luck shifts his way and the Chargers close out a bunch of games because they go for it on 4th and 2 on their own 18-yard line, that kind of flashy coaching does help you win Coach of the Year.
Yeah, 100%.
That really does. And they lose so many close games. So if they can switch that around, I really think that he's the favorite for a reason, but
Yeah,
I like
right.
it.
Offensive Rookie of the Year. Oh, no, sorry. We'll do those last.
All
Okay,
right.
Defensive Player of the Year. This is an award where it's probably going to go to one of the top 3 guys, which is Aaron Donald, Myles Garrett, T.J. Watt, and then even you look at Micah Parsons based off his rookie year.
Yeah.
He could win this award.
Yeah.
But the guy I really like, and if Jonah's team ends up being good and the Broncos are scoring a bunch of points, I think Patrick Surtain could come out of nowhere as that guy who has 6 pick sixes in the first 10 weeks, and then all of a sudden he's the leader at week 11, week 12 in the season. If the Broncos are scoring points and teams are airing the ball out, he's going to catch the ball, and he's probably going to house a couple. So at 81-1, that was easily my favorite bet.
That's great.
I actually really like that pick. I mean, it wasn't really a guy who I was really considering, but I mean, it makes sense. You look at that defense and the opportunity that he has there with a winning team now. I see it 100%.
I can't believe the Seahawks didn't make him integral to trading Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
I can't believe they got to keep him, but
I'm happy about it. And I like that. I like that a lot.
Who's your value guy?
Patrick
so it's
Surtain.
Patrick Surtain.
Is
My bad.
81
My
not enough for
Yeah.
you?
Fair enough. I went, as I already mentioned them before, I didn't want to go with one of the three that, everybody knows already. So I thought Micah Parsons would build off his rookie year, and I know you already said that he's obviously up there, but I really think that he can build and just continue with that success to Dallas and really push them. But I really, I like my dark horse pick a little more here, and the Raiders made a lot of moves, so I'm going back to the Raiders, and this is a dark horse pick. This is a dark horse pick. They brought in Chandler Jones, right? And I really think that Max Crosby,
He's good.
He's good. And I think that he can step it up. There's going to be a lot more attention on other parts of their defense, and I think that he can really disrupt some quarterback play, get after there, and I think he's my dark horse pick. I don't have the odds in front of me right now, but
You sure like the other teams in your division.
listen,
A lot more than your own.
listen. I have my own guys there too, but it's how it goes. I can't. If I was just saying Bradley Chubb the whole time, I don't know what you'd think, but watch him too.
With my first pick, I'm going T.J. Watt. I mean, he won it last year. I think he can do it again. But I feel like in recent years, they've kind of shied away from the linebackers and the secondary a little bit. They've really been hammering down the D linemen. And
Yeah, it's always a pass rusher.
maybe that's because of what Aaron Donald's been able to do since coming to the NFL. But I think that trend's going to continue, and I think T.J. Watt takes the favorite. He's my favorite pick for this season. And then for my value pick, T.J. Watt was a plus 700. This guy's a plus 1,200 with Nick Bosa, the 49ers. I think the 49ers are going to have a good defense, which again just opens up more room for a guy like that to operate. I said it a little bit last week with the Bills getting Von Miller. Having that addition just opens up a lot of room for your D-line to work. So I think maybe we see that again here with the 49ers.
I like Nick Bosa because he was tremendous as a rookie.
Yeah.
And it feels like he's kind of had some injury troubles the last couple of seasons, but I could see him having a monster year.
Yeah. Again, just a fridge out there. I mean, he's just a big man that can move. That's always a lot of fun to see.
Yeah, I know I'm a little late bringing it up, but his brother Joey Bosa, they're now with the addition from the Bears, right?
Yeah, Khalil
Mack. That could open up a lot of room for him, and they could be a dynamic duo that can really create a lot of havoc. And I can easily see Joey Bosa.
Jackson buying them some time in the second round.
I really think Joey Bosa could have a monster year as well. I know a little late. Probably should have said that before.
I was gonna pick Khalil Mack for my value pick here, but I haven't seen enough from him recently. I haven't watched a ton of the Bears. I mean,
it's hard to know how good guys are.
Yeah.
Same thing with Allen Robinson. When you know your team's ceiling is 4 wins, like it's hard to know how much does Khalil Mack have left, because it can't be the most fun situation to play in, right?
Yeah, exactly. But
okay, I'm really excited for this one. I think this is where you can actually make money. Is the Rookie of the Year bets.
100%.
Wait, we got to do Offensive Player of the Year.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I guess we gotta do.
Okay, I have Justin Jefferson because I think he's gonna be the Cooper Cup of this year. I'm super Vikings heavy. I guess the Vikings are my Raiders.
I'm with you, man. I put Justin Jefferson too.
I just think he's gonna lead the league in receiving yards. He's probably gonna have more touchdowns than a receiver. I think he's gonna have an absolutely bonkers season. So plus 1,600. Feels to me like that should be way lower, so that would be my pick.
Yeah.
As I already said, I had the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going Jonathan Taylor, the Colts. I think he's poised for another big year, another good young running back who, I mean, that 25, 26, 27-year-old running back, for a running back, is almost kind of a death sentence at this point. And I think we only have a few more years where Jonathan Taylor can really kind of dominate as he did last season going into this year. So I am going to take him with a plus 800 right there.
That would make him the back-to-back #1 draft in fantasy if he were to have another amazing year this year. And with running backs, it's crazy how fast it can go, right? We used to be like, Alvin Kamara is going to be a top 5 pick for a while. Now he's like a second rounder.
I saw some stat earlier today with like 27-year-old running backs and just potentially being bust for fantasy football. But look at the 27-year-old running backs coming into this season: Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook. I'm drawing a blank on the last two right now, but those two names alone are just
Derrick Henry's only 27, eh?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So I mean, take that as you will with a grain of salt or whatever. But I mean, that could be a big thing for fantasy this year.
Okay, offensive rookie of the year. I got 4 guys, so I'll run through it super quickly. Breece Hall would have been a top 15 pick 10 years ago, first running back taken this year, goes to the Jets. He looks amazing in training camp. He's going to be the first team starter. Great hands. He's probably going to be the total yardage leader if I have to bet out of the skill position guys. Next, Treylon Burks, there to replace A.J. Brown. Looks like A.J. Brown. His receiving, his competitors for targets is Robert Woods coming off a major injury and a bunch of guys you've never heard of. That's plus 900. That team should still be pretty confident, so I think he'll probably put up close to number 1 wide receiver stats if he's worth his draft position. Now, if you're going, okay, I need a quarterback. Kenny Pickett's favored to win this award. I don't think he's going to start until really late in the season, so don't bet on Kenny Pickett. But Desmond Ridder, who the Falcons took, had a great season with Cincinnati in college last year. He's competing with Marcus Mariota for the starting job. That seems achievable to me that by week 3 or 4 he comes in. He's got guys like Kyle Pitts. He's got they've got other weapons in the backfield as well. He's got number 8 overall pick Drake London out wide. He comes in and plays well. He could steal this award at plus 1,800. And the last guy, purely based on buzz and the franchise he landed with, is George Pickens, plus 2,800. We all know the Steelers' history of drafting wide receivers. Chase Claypool, Antonio Brown, Emmanuel Sanders, Juju. The list goes on and on. And everyone's saying this guy looks ridiculous in training camp. They've done it again. Oh, Deontay Johnson, I forgot just then. Based on the Steelers, based on this guy before injuries in college was projected to be a really high pick, plus 2,800. That's great value.
No, that's great. And you know what? I completely agree with you on the Treylon Burks. That's who I have. However, I do have another one. And also, just to add on to Treylon Burks, I really think that, as you said before, Tennessee's going to regress to a certain extent. They still have Derrick Henry. They still have that play-action pass that's just going to result in some big plays, and I think Treylon Burks will pad the stats this year. My dark horse is Tyler Algier. Now, this is a guy that played for BYU, and this guy put up 23 touchdowns.
Desmond Ritter's new backfield made potential.
Yes, exactly. This guy put up 23 touchdowns in his draft year. This guy just has a nose for the end zone. Absolutely, absolutely absurd. And you know what? Cordell Patterson had, I think, a bit of an anomaly year last year. Like, this guy kind of been bouncing around. I think he's 30 or 31 years old. He's on the older side. Now, you were talking about 27-year-old running backs before. This guy's like over 30, right?
Yeah.
Or he's 30. So he's definitely getting there. There could be, who knows if that was a special year, right? Or maybe he repeats it. But I think this guy can come in either way, maybe even share the backfield. And do you have his odds? You pulled up his odds?
Yeah, I just pulled them up. This is a really good bet, actually. This 51-1. That's really good. He's starting, right?
I mean, it's him and Patterson in the backfield. That's all they have there. I think no matter what, he's getting playing time, and this is a guy that could just break through defenses, find that hole, and just a nose for the end zone. I like this pick a lot.
Jordan?
All right. I'm kind of the same thinking for both my guys, and I kind of for the same reason here. I'm going Christian Watson to the Packers, plus 900, and I think a lot of it is because just so many targets have opened up with Devontae Adams leaving. I don't love Curtis Lazar as my number one option in Green Bay, and I think that opens up a lot of room for a new guy to come in and really take ownership of that field. So I think the sky's the limit for a guy like him, especially with a guy like Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball to you. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. And then for my second pick, it's Sky Moore, who's actually a second-round pick, 54th overall in the draft.
Same argument, though, basically.
Yeah, you're drafted by the Chiefs. You lose Tyreek Hill. And granted, they have Juju Smith-Schuster there now. I've never been totally sold on him. Obviously, a very, very good wide receiver, but I still think there's a lot of room for a guy like Sky Moore to really make a name for himself there.
So I like the Sky Moore pick, but with Christian Watson, right now they're saying he's going to miss most of camp, and Rodgers is so fickle with new receivers, it seems, that worries me. And I was also reading that this other rookie receiver, Romeo Dubes, is like the apple of Rodgers' eye at the moment.
Okay.
So
I actually didn't see that. So
Watson's at plus 1,200 right now.
Yeah.
And Romeo Dubes is at plus 2,800. So people still think, Watson's talent is a second rounder. I think Romeo Dubes might have been undrafted, but that one's worth monitoring.
yeah, I am with you there. I didn't see that, so I apologize. But thank you for pointing that out.
Okay.
And we go to the Defensive Rookie of the Year. Our last award? I believe it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is so hard, right?
Yeah.
Because,
You guys want to do one here again? You guys just want to do one here again?
yeah, sure.
Oh, that's tough.
Okay. So, pass rushers dominate the defensive awards. Kayvon Thibodeau is somebody who apparently is tearing up Giants camp. Was supposed to be the number one pick for the entire college season, and people basically found him annoying because he sells NFTs and he's just generally a tough interview. He's 6.5 to 1. It's not great value, but he probably wins it. But I also want to bring up my guy Sauce Gardner, who's not even the highest cornerback in terms of value. Dirk Stingley Jr., who the Texans took, is 11 to 1. Sauce is 12. And he's also not the highest Jets rookie on Defensive Rookie of the Year odds. Jermaine Johnson's 11 to 1. And from reading all the Jets stuff, you should be digging Sauce Gardner over a guy like Jermaine Johnson. Sauce is already giving guys like Corey Davis solid receivers, just putting him through the torture chamber in camp. He's 6'3", he's long, he's physical, and he's just a guy, same argument that I made for Surtain, has a couple picks early in the season, which I think he will, and suddenly that 12 to 1 value starts to look good.
Henry, I gotta say, I was waiting for that Jets pick to come in. For me, I got Quay Walker. And I know his odds are obviously up there at they're not the greatest because he's one of the favorites. However, I think he's going to get a ton of action in Green Bay. And I think that this guy is just going to be an absolute beast of a linebacker for them. And that's exactly what Green Bay needs. And you know what? They still have Rodgers. They're still going to be a great team. And they're going to still need to rely on their defense. And I think Quay Walker, I believe, 10 to 1? Mm-hmm. Yep. 10 to 1 odds. I like that pick.
And I'll wrap up this segment here. I have Jordan Davis, defensive tackle with the Eagles, 13th overall pick. I think this guy's 334 pounds, but a video service in the last few days or so where he just demolishes this 300-pound O lineman and he just puts him through work. And only the third player in NFL history to run under a 5-second 40-yard dash while weighing over 300 pounds.
I think Mekhi Becton's on that list.
I believe so too. So yeah, that one just stings a little more, right? But
Jordan Davis looks ridiculous. Now he might not have the sack total to win this award, but he's probably going to be as effective as any rookie.
Exactly. He's 6'6", 334 pounds. Just a guy who I would not want to just go up against at any point in this year. And you talk about the perception that he's had at training camp and how the Eagles are going to be utilizing him. I think he's in a good position to really kind of, like you said, maybe not get a ton of sacks, but just ruin teams' offenses. And if you are enjoying the show and enjoying our content, we just want to take a second to remind you guys to, if you're watching us on YouTube, hit that red subscribe button just below the video, and give us a like as well if you really do enjoy it. It helps us a lot. It keeps us going a little bit. Maybe gives us a little kick in our ass to get our stuff together here. But so if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Music or any other podcast platform, give us a follow. Again, helps us reach out to more people and lets more people see our content. And to wrap up the show, we're just going to do another 10, 15 minutes here. We're going to do our bold predictions for this year's NFL season. a lot has changed coming into this year, and I mean, I think this can end up a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and I was kind of went through my picks from the perspective that this is a year from now, and what does the league look like?
Yeah.
Because this is our last week without real football.
It's coming up. I'm excited.
Yeah, and then hopefully we're going to have lots of stuff to talk about, actually getting to see some first-team reps on television.
Actually getting to talk about actual football, not just everything around the game.
So when we're looking into the void a year from now with no football, it will be fun to look back before we'd seen anything and evaluate how our predictions looked.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess I could start this off. I'm going to go a bit of a bold take here. The Chicago Bears will go winless. I'm saying this. I don't think Justin Fields is it. You got a pretty weak O-line there. And just I think losing Khalil Mack's going to hurt them. I forget what Allen Robinson was last year. He was on the Bears, right?
He was.
Yeah, so
him and Fields did not connect at all.
yeah, and if you look at Allen Robinson's stats from last season, 38 catches for 410 yards. That's your number one target. It's not a great look, and Khalil Mack, as I said, is going to be a huge loss for them coming into this year.
Yeah, and I think that division's going to be pretty good with the Vikings maybe going up a level. The Packers, their floor is still going to be 9-10 wins. And I think the Lions are going to be a good team, or at least by a good team, they win 7
better,
games.
Better.
And the Bears could definitely get their ass kicked. Winless is like, I haven't seen many teams go winless. You got to be really stink. But I think teams will definitely be licking their chops to get the Bears all year.
100%. And I think the last team to do it were I think it was the 16-17 or the year before Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, the Browns went almost 2 years straight or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was 1-16 and then 1-15, 0-16.
Okay, you ready for mine?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, to start, I want to say that Jimmy Garoppolo will be the Bucs starting quarterback next year.
The Bucks?
The Bucs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which if you may remember, Tom Brady had a little bit of an envious streak toward Jimmy, it seemed, when Jimmy came in and went 3-1 on the Patriots. And I think with Jimmy, he's a free agent next summer. Brady clearly wasn't amped about returning to the Bucs. He tried to go to the Dolphins. It didn't work out. Retired for a month. Probably found his kids more annoying in that time span and decided to play football again. So he's going to play for the Bucs one more year. Jimmy's going to get traded somewhere for a year, maybe Seattle. But he's a free agent, and I think he'd be a really good fit with that Bucs team.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to actually replace Tom Brady this time. When it looked like he might replace Tom Brady in New England, I think he will replace Tom on the Bucs. And these guys just have some weird thing where they're the two best-looking guys, and they just sort of fall into the same team's laps over and over.
It's kind of fitting, isn't it? That I mean, all this time, after all this time, where Garoppolo could have replaced Brady on the Patriots, it could very well happen again. But I don't think that's the craziest thing, and I do think Garoppolo actually could do a pretty good job there. They have the offensive line, they have the wide receiver weapons, decent running backs too with a good defense. I think that core is there for Garoppolo to really exceed in a place like Tampa Bay.
Yeah, he'd be good there.
And I'll go to my second one. I think Davante Adams and Derek Carr are going to be the best quarterback wide receiver duo this season. And I say best is not in terms of pure skill, but I think they'll both put up ridiculous numbers. I think Derek Carr really needed a true number one weapon. I like Hunter Renfrow and I like Darren Waller. I like Josh Jacobs too, but I think Davante Adams just has another step over all those guys. And even if say the Davante Adams Derek Carr connection doesn't work out, I think it's going to open up a lot of space for Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs, and Hunter Renfrow to really operate in that offense.
Yeah, with Adams, if he has a huge year and Rodgers has a little bit of a down year, he's going to get a lot of a juice from that, I think.
100%.
And, just the way he is as a receiver, it doesn't seem quarterback-based. He's
Yeah.
like those guys who watch all the tape obsessively. All love Devontae Adams because they think he's the best route runner. He's the best beater of press coverage off the line, and it seems like he's a guy that if you had a rookie QB, he'd be somebody who could elevate the rookie QB rather than being reliant on the elite guy.
And you also talk about the pair of them played college together, so they also have that connection. And I mean, they're just all over social media. They seem really excited to play together.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that one's definitely a good possibility.
Okay, my next one, and I like this one, is because the AFC South has been kind of the whipping boy of the league for a little bit now.
Yeah.
The Titans usually win that division, but none of us ever loved the Titans, but because they get to play the Jags and the Texans mainly, but the Colts had a few kind of down years post Andrew Luck. They end up with a bunch of wins. Last year they're the number 1 seed, mainly because they're in the AFC South.
Yeah.
Even with the number 1 seed in the AFC South, that division still won the least games in the NFL last year. So that shows you kind of how poor that division is being. And so I think this is the year that the AFC South isn't the worst division in football anymore, even though the Titans don't win 12 games again.
Yeah.
I think the Colts win that division. The Titans are solid, 8-9 wins. The Jags get better. And even the Texans get a little better. Davis Mills didn't look terrible last year. And I think they have more wins than the NFC East. The NFC East, who famously gets way too many primetime games every year.
Yeah. I do agree with that. I do think the Eagles are a better team. But I think overall, I think that the AFC South is a much deeper division, even if the top end talent may not be as strong. So that could very well happen. But we were also talking a little bit before the show. We're kind of talking about this segment as well. You brought up at the NFC East, or I can't remember what division it was. I'm drawing a blank.
The NFC South?
Yes, the NFC South. We're going to have all new quarterbacks next year.
Oh,
so
no, the NFC East.
Yeah.
The NFC East.
Yeah, so again, I think we're going to see a lot of turnover in that division, and I think we're going to see a lot of teams kind of fall off, but I do think the Eagles at least are a better team.
Yeah, the Eagles should be better, definitely, but I think Dallas, I just really don't believe in Mike McCarthy, and they lost a lot of good players this offseason.
Yeah, and I think Z takes another step back in his career too.
The Giants might be a little better, but still, they're not going to be anywhere near the playoff hunt.
No.
And Washington has the potential to be pretty bad, like a 5-win team. They got Carson Wentz, but
I don't know how much that's really going to help them.
I think he's a stopgap QB. I don't know. I really think the Redskins could be picking in the top 5 next year. So yeah, I think the AFC South wins more games than the NFC East this year.
Okay, I'm with you there, but did I go first? Or you go first.
You went first.
Okay.
You're up.
All right. I'm going. So with my last one here, I'm going Allen Robinson to win the Comeback Player of the Year after a 38 pass reception, 410 yards last season, playing with Justin Fields. He's going to the Rams. I think Matt Stafford's going to open up a lot of doors for him just to be more involved in that offense, and still no OBJ back with the Rams. So again, I think that's a perfect opportunity for a guy like Allen Robinson, who may not be the fastest guy, but just very technical sound, to really have a big year. And I think teams are going to be watching Cooper Kupp a lot more closely this year. So again, just opens up more time for Allen Robinson to really operate.
Yeah, the Rams have definitely become the place you want to see guys land in order to have like a return to form or a breakout season. So
maybe that's Sean McVay's system, but I mean, a lot of wide receivers we've seen go there and just come out the other end a much better player.
Yeah, and Allen Robinson, you certainly wouldn't say he seems any worse off than a Robert Woods did coming over from the Bills originally, or OBJ did come from the Browns last year. It just seems like he's going to be the next guy in that line. It makes perfect sense, I think, in everyone's head that this is going to work out. He's going to be really good. He's going to have one of those years that he had with terrible QB play with the Bears. Where he was still a top 10, 12 fantasy receiver.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be a big move, and I guess I kind of did cheat because I used it for my my biggest moves to the conference last week as well, but I'll turn a blind eye to that.
Yeah, and the last one I was going to leave off on was that I was going to repeat my Patriots come last in AFC East bit from last week, but with the Mekhi Becton news, I'm waving the white flag. So, whatever.
We feel your pain, but it's funny as well because it's the Jets.
Whatever. All right, that's it.
Is that it?
That's
All right.
it. Unless
Perfect.
you had another.
No, I did not.
Okay.
Anything else you want to finish off the episode with?
No, I'm just honestly really excited to get some preseason football next week. Yeah, it's just about go time. I'm starting to see my friends start their fantasy drafts and whatever. It's just that time of year. Obviously, my birthday today.
Yes, happy birthday. We should have led the show up with that. That's my mistake.
It's okay. Yeah. Year 24, another great football season. I'm just amped up to finally next week. I think we're going to talk some Hard Knocks. Some preseason. And I think it's only going to be up from here. I think Jonah did a really good job today.
I think so too.
Against all odds, I was really skeptical. So.
No, I believe Hard Knocks starts tonight as well, along with the World Junior Hockey Championship.
Amazing Hard Knocks team.
The Lions.
Is the perfect team. I would have picked them over any other team, I swear.
I think Dan Campbell's going to be a huge personality that shows. That I don't think maybe John Gruden but maybe a little more uptight too.
He's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah. But until next week, we want to thank you for watching the show with us today. I'm Jordan LaRoche at LaRoche Jordan on Twitter. Henry Standage.
At Henry Standage, I think. There might be a dot between Henry and Standage.
I think there is. But at the Practice Squad TO on all social media platforms, the Practice Squad on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you can listen to podcasts. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next week.